Salaam Alaikum. In the most holy name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. And in the name of his last and greatest apostle, the great Elijah Muhammad, I said once again this morning, Assalamu Alaikum. I have a little small clip that I want to record this morning before I get started with my day. My name is Brother Jasir Kabir. I'm the teacher at the Dufasef Academy Temple of Islam. And these broadcasts that we are producing and putting out before the public, they serve several purposes. One is to continue to propagate the teachings of the lost foundation of Islam, the supreme wisdom of Master Farad Muhammad through his messenger Elijah Muhammad. That's number one. That's always our responsibility, is to teach on the knowledge of God. Another one of our aims is to be able to identify what it is we're supposed to be doing in this time period, along with pointing out the characteristics of the hypocrites, the disbelievers, and of course the believers. And we have come up with a foolproof method that I think is 100% accurate, and that method is rooted in one word, which is separation. And we're going to cover an article from the book Message to the Black Man titled A House of Our Own. And I'm not going to be too long today. I haven't been before this microphone in a few weeks now. As I look throughout the community of black people in general, and the so-called Nation of Islam in particular, sometimes I get perplexed, and I just shut down, because everything has been said. Elijah Muhammad, he did not fail in his mission. He's said and taught everything that needs to be done. We are just a small flicker of light that remains in this time of intense darkness. And sometimes we find ourselves weary. We find ourselves going through the motion of, wow, this is bad. When we look around at the community of our people here in America, the advent of the internet gives us access to the energy and the thought processes of our people today. The devils knew what they were doing when they made available these different platforms, because now people can go on these platforms and they can bear witness to that which they are for and that which they are against. And one of the aspects of this time period of intense darkness is the loosey-goosey, pardon the slang, appearance of what Islam is and who is a Muslim or what is a Muslim in regards to what Elijah Muhammad taught. So we as poor righteous teachers, we find ourselves, the small few of us, we find ourselves being just that, poor. And poor in this case does not have anything to do with money or the lack thereof. It's a feeling of, melancholy, pensiveness, because you realize that, wow, we have a very challenging uphill battle to climb if we really want to be free. And what I've discovered is that everyone that I speak to, everyone is not a single individual that I've spoken to within the last, I say, 24 to 36 months. Not one single individual who have dedicated themselves to become totally free and independent and to build a world of our own. I haven't spoken with anyone, and I've spoken with a lot of people in the last 24 to 36 months. And it's probably been longer than that, but, I'm going to make it shorter. See, this new Islam is about deeds and actions, not words and lip service. The messenger, Elijah Muhammad, he projected so far into the future that I think the community has missed it. The community, they've become enamored with what he said and how he said it and, what he built. And, the community has attempted to duplicate that time period. And you're never going to find me advocating that type of processes, because I understand those lessons. You're trying to live in a time history or a history that is already expired. And the failure to renew a history, if not checked, will be our downfall. It will be our detriment. It will be the cause of our failure to become free and independent. The messenger said that Allah came himself with the knowledge and wisdom to free us and make us the universal rulers of an entirely new world, to build an entirely new people, and to erect an entirely new civilization, one that will last forever. Pardon me. But what I think has happened is that the people, they no longer have hope in that teaching. So let me go to this article and unpack it a little bit. It's easy to give up when you look around and you see your peers, your family, your circle of influences. Wherever you go, you see black people have basically given up and have relegated themselves to, we just can't do any better. I'm not depressed behind it, but at the same time I have to acknowledge what I see. And I'm just one brother, one man, one ranger, one soldier who will never subscribe to that idea. Because if I was to subscribe that we cannot become free and independent, then I would rather not wake up in the morning. I would rather be physically removed from among the living. And I have no thoughts of suicide, to be able to remove myself. But I do have thoughts of, hey, let's back up for a running start. So what we decided to do was, to present this teaching not for the people in the present, but the people coming in the future. Because one of the aspects of this Islam is the consequences of rejection and the shutting down of the light that bring forth, much spiritual darkness and misunderstanding among the disbelievers and the hypocrites. And it's very difficult to point the disbelievers and hypocrites out when you are just taking things on face value. So we've devised a method, instruments, as a small army of heaven. And you can read about this small army of heaven in an article titled "The Breakup of the Old World." And he said that the hypocrites and the disbelievers would be against the destruction of the old world and bring it into a new world. And as I said previously, it's hard to define in this time period who are the hypocrites and the disbelievers within the community. The community of those who call themselves Muslims. And that's what we have been able to come to grips with, to be able to identify the three categories of men. That's all we can do today. I being one man, I don't have the power and force to bring anything into view in the way of freedom and independence due to the intense opposition to it. So these things has to play itself out. But what I can do is continue to teach and enunciate the truth in regards to this most pressing idea. And the truth has to be able to identify the three categories of men: the believer, the disbeliever, and the hypocrite. And what I've been teaching for years is that, the people who call themselves Muslims, I've asked them to go back and do an introspection and look at what they have contributed to in regards to this dynamic of being hopeless. And we've all made significant contributions to this hopelessness within our community because we failed to understand time. We've failed to understand deeds in according with time. And some of us, we were just blind, deaf, and dumb. We were given an interpretation when we were mere babies coming into this great wisdom by those who were there to introduce us to this wisdom. They didn't know what the hell they were doing. And as I said previously, I'm going to continue to say, we did not know that they did not know. And once, some of us found out, then we took it upon ourselves to identify that particular aspect of not knowing and why we didn't know. I think that it was necessary to cleanse us of this filth and evil that we have adopted from the thinking of Yaqub, who, by the way, was an original black man who discovered in the black man two germs, one a black germ and one a brown germ, and how he was able to separate the brown germ from the black and take that brown germ and graft it into its weakest form. He did not graft the black germ into its weakest form. He separated the brown germ from the black germ. That's what he did. So, we are now in a period of the darkness of Yaqub's thinking. And the only way we can get out of it is to become free and independent. So this is what Elijah Muhammad wrote. This is taken from page 224 in the book Message to the Black Man. And mind you, this book was published in 1965. So it's about 60 years ago. And this is what he wrote, and I quote, "We cannot be successful in the house of our enemies. We should be in our own house." I'm going to say this a couple of more times. We cannot be successful in the house of our enemies. We should be in our own house. We cannot be successful in the house of our enemies. We should be in our own house. And this is one sentence. In 1965, when this article was published, Elijah Muhammad was working frantically, intensely to bring this into fruition. And he, by the will and grace and mercy of Allah, he was able to do just that. He was able to build a nation within a nation. But those people who were there with him, they were glad, happy to discover ease after his physical passing. So they were, hurled to be able to give all of that back. But I'm not here to criticize them for what they did or they didn't do, because I think all of it was necessary. We are still fighting this weakness that exists in us. And this is a constant, ever-flowing process of cleansing. He said, that which is other than our own is for those who are other than our own. Our own is unlimited, physically and spiritually. I'm going to come down a little bit. This is what he said. Independence to you is strange. You have given up the hope of ever being independent. But this is just what Allah, God, wants to do for you. Independence to you is strange. Independence to black people in America is strange. Black people in America have given up the hope of ever being independent. This book is titled Message to the Black Man in America. So that's who he's talking to. He's talking to the black man in America. And he's telling you that independence to you, black man, is strange. He's telling you You have given, you, the black man in America, have given up the hope of ever being independent. And he said, but this is just what Allah God wants to do for you. Now, how's Allah going to do it? That's the question you and I must ask ourselves. Through His wisdom, brothers and sisters. I can't emphasize this enough. His wisdom is what's going to make us free and independent. It's the wisdom of Allah. He asked the question, don't you think it is time, after 400 years, as servants to strangers? It is hopeless to think that these strangers will ever be other than what they now are to you. He said, the hypocrites and devils are now united against me and my followers, and wish to make a concerted attack on us with many false charges, as well as planning actual death for us. But Allah too has planned. That's what we're up against. We're up against the hypocrites, the disbelievers, and of course the devil. The real devil. To those of you who may get something out of this message, you can find me very easily. My name is Jasir Kabir. I'm not looking for followers. I'm not looking for anyone. I'm just here to tell the truth. But if you are of the desire to learn more about how to become free and independent, then praises be to Allah. I do believe that I have a pretty good grasp of how to bring it into fruition. I do know that it's going to take us centuries to have the finished product, and that's where you fail to pick up the truth. You don't think beyond your physical existence, so you begin to resign yourself to this world's thinking. When you think beyond your own physical life, you start preparing future generations to carry this out. You know, it's like passing on the baton. You know, but what you've been passing on to generations coming behind you is this idea of serving the devil while claiming to believe in Islam. And this is what makes you double-minded. Now, a man like me, this is very lonely, and you know, I get a lot of requests to, hey man, go have fun, and you know, go live your life, and you know, all of these idiotic suggestions, and I think they come from a good place, you know, based on the people's suggestions. I don't think the people mean any harm by it. I just think they are illiterate. And the reason why is because you've given up hope. When you are hopeful and dedicated to freedom and independence, you realize that's the only life that you have. And this is what makes our job at the Do for Self Academy Temple of Islam very difficult. Why did Musa have a hard time civilizing the devil 2000 BC? Because he was a savage. He answered, savage is one who has lost all knowledge of himself and is living a beast life. So the life that you are living, you know, is a beast life. And that's what makes you savage. And it makes it very difficult for me to get through to you. it makes it very difficult for the messenger's words, his teachings, and his presentation from a mathematical, theological, complex standpoint. It hasn't taken root in the community. And I lay this blame solely on the black men. Solely on the black men. We as black men, we have failed miserably to do what is necessary. And Elijah Muhammad said in 1959 that if he was a black woman and your men were such cowards that you can go read it for yourself in Fall of America, the first chapter, his speech at the Uline Arena. You can go read it for yourself. So what we have done, we have failed our women and children to the point now that the women and children have given up for the most part. And you know, you have a lone voice here in the wilderness, which is me. And if there are any others, please reach out to me. However, you know, don't reach out to me, you know, talking about I have to follow somebody or that you're going to have some form of authority. You know, we're going to do this collectively from a circle of brotherhood. You know, the time of a one-person leader expired in 1975. And anyone that's advocating a one-person leader, you know, they are, you know, what I would say retarded. It's a form of mental illness. Elijah Muhammad said that once a man has brought you face to face with the reality of Allah God, there's nothing else for a person to lead you to. And that doesn't mean that we should not build leadership among ourselves. There's two different things. So I'm all open for uniting with the right aim and purpose. But your authority has to come from your wisdom, not from your title. And I've yet to see the right amount of wisdom coming from the men who call themselves Muslims, with only one exception. And that brother, I'm not sure where he's located. He may be sick, he may have passed on, or he may have left the country. I'm not sure where he is. But he was the only man, only brother that I've met in over 40 years that understood this most pressing dynamic of brotherhood, round table, the we, and so on and so forth. And not only that, he showed up with acres of land in the center of the country, only to be rejected. You know, when Allah blesses us with the tools to become free and independent, and we rejected those tools, then the only thing left is misery and the consequences of our rejection, and that's where we are. Again, my name is Jasir Kabir. You can go and read the article for yourself. A House of Our Own. And in the book, Message to the Black Man. I'll leave you as I came before you, and the most beautiful greetings that you ever can extend to someone else, which is peace. Salaam Alaikum.